TJ, what do you think your mindset is going into your training, right, for right now, kind of as you're going into summer, doing some rec baseball?
So,
how do you switch up?
Going into summer, I think partially, right, if you're going into a baseball mindset, I'm spending more time this year on like my rotational basis, being a little bit more athletic again, and making my muscle mass useful. I was always very naturally flexible, so it's trying to kind of like get back to that after all the strength I've built, because you can kind of get very bound up. Even though I still have good ranges of motion, throwing 115 pitches on a Sunday in 95-degree heat like destroyed me last summer. Cardiovascular it got me, but I was in like pretty good shape and I could last, so my endurance was great. My muscle mass was great to be able to last me, but it was more so the rotational forces on my body. But now, right, I'm doing a plyo day, rotational kind of med ball work into the hips, really working on that throwing pattern. So my land hip gets the work. And then a day like this today, I'm just working on kind of density, range of motion, strength through ranges of motion, right, while still keeping my compounds heavy enough to be strong. So I'm gonna go, actually after this, I'm doing my last set of pull-ups, going into more of a deeper chest fly, right? A lot of people will talk about baseball players or pitchers or throwers. The old school mindset was to talk about how it's almost detrimental. They used to never have kids do overhead pressing or heavy work, and they never used to have them train like a football player, really, right? And that's how I was taught, but I think I attribute a lot of that to my injuries, because me being so flexible and having the mobility led to my injuries. I actually had way too much range of motion and didn't know how to control it and create tension. I didn't have enough integrity in my joints to be able to decelerate my arm when I was throwing. With all the forces put on the elbow, right? You see guys tear ligaments left and right. I think I attribute that a lot. Obviously it's mechanics, it's a bunch of stuff and fatigue, but I didn't have that ability to use my strength on the field and translate it because I never had the wherewithal to build it up, right? I was always thinking flexible was better. And now that I am stronger and a little bit more wound up tight, I can use that to my advantage if I get more to that athletic basis again. This podcast is sponsored by Memento Health. We got an awesome electrolyte supplement here that we just paired up with. We also are selling it within our studio and are affiliated with online. Incredible electrolyte is formulated with the best sourced sodium, potassium, magnesium, and amino acids to help absorb it, right? So it's got the correct ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium for optimal hydration. It also has great sourced amino acids from this Japanese company that does fermented amino acids instead of a typical chemical process. So check these guys out. We'll have the link below. Awesome, awesome partner. But it's also strengthening the muscles in the range of motion, right? The muscles, every muscle is working in your upper body when you're throwing. You need extreme ranges of motion, pec ranges, right? So if you look at a chest fly, right? People say it's simple, or they say it's gonna hurt your shoulders if you're a thrower. Why? When you're doing it 120 times like this on the mountain, you're throwing through wild ranges of motion for the tissue, right? And there's almost way more force put on the joint than there is in a chest fly. So I'm gonna go deep range of motion, work the muscles to their capacity, along with heavy weighted dips, right? Weighting that joint in range of motion, right? Just to keep that integrity and that tension to make sure that when it goes into that range, it's safe and it already has some built up durability from the strength training I've done. So that's pretty much my mindset. I think, you know, I also take these days away from the 8-well programming for me to get into stuff that I want to do a little bit more enjoyable for myself to hit an upper body day, but then like learn from it, right? Apply like the pull-up concept where I'm doing 1 rep at a time, a bunch of different sets of that single rep, and translate that, right? To see what I can learn, just gathering intel. Learning week after week, year after year, trying to piece together all this information so that I could just keep gathering and being a better trainer for myself and for the people that I'm training, right? So I think those are my 2 biggest goals, learning and also performing a little bit better, but thinking of my body and my training in more of an athlete sense now, rather than just gaining weight, getting stronger, and getting bigger.